Hello today. So today I am going to talk about why I think everyone should write a book and also how to start off creating a book, specifically a nonfiction book. Because for me, I am like, okay, I want to write this book, but I don't know where to start. So I'll talk about that after I explain why everyone should write a book. So, first, you should write a book because it could clear your mind. Because at times, at least for me, I think a lot throughout the day, and just having these thoughts written down somewhere eases my mind because sometimes I just don't want to talk to anyone. Or, wait, yeah. Sometimes I just want the thoughts to myself at the moment, so I write them down, and those thoughts could be used as ideas for books. Also, another reason is that to share stories. And the reason why you could share stories, why you should write a book and share these stories that you have in your mind, these ideas, is because God gives us ideas to write a book. Not It doesn't have to be personally for us, because sometimes God will give you this idea to write a book, like this one idea, and you're just wondering, why this idea, God? Like, I don't understand how it corresponds to me at this moment, or why I should even be writing this. But if God gives you an idea, go with it, trust in God, because when He gives you the idea, it doesn't have to write a book. It doesn't personally have to be for you, but He gives you the idea to share it with others through writing or through any form He wants you to share the idea. God gives you a certain idea because He wants you to create a story, the book, because He knows that everyone writes differently. We all have our own form of writing, our own form when it comes to writing, our own creative way, and you may not even realize that. But He gives you the idea, the story to write, to be told through your writing, because He knows He could, if He gives the idea, the story to someone else, it won't be done as well as it would be through your writing. He gives it to you because He understands that through your writing, people will see God through your work, even if the story isn't initially about God. But if you do choose to read the book and the story, then one, you're obeying God. So that's always good. And two, if you ever come to a moment where you just where you explain how you got this idea and you mention God, some people would be like, you know what? I had a feeling that it was from God, but I wasn't quite sure since God wasn't involved in the story, and He doesn't have to be, because technically He is, even if He isn't mentioned in your writing, because He gave you the idea. And this will help people because sometimes people will go to books instead of people for help because they find it easier. That's just how they naturally are. And so by writing and having people connect to the characters and seeing how the characters got out of the struggle, out of the tough times, gives people more faith to get out of their own and to keep having that thought that the struggle, the bad stuff are not gonna last forever. It may seem like it's a big deal in that it won't, in that it will take forever to overcome, but compared to the amount of great days, the amount of sunshines that everyone will have throughout their life, the bad stuff is like this. It just may all happen at once, and That's okay because God doesn't give you something that you cannot handle. So just remember that everything that's occurring in your life, even though it seems like it's not gonna stop, it will one day because God doesn't want you to suffer. So yeah. And now on to like how to write this book. Well, one, you could brainstorm. And a way you could brainstorm is by first writing down your book topic. Like, what is this book going to be about? Right. And then when it comes to like a fictional book, make sure you understand where the climax would be in your story. Like, what's going to happen at the peak of the story, around the middle. Usually it's around the middle. And what's like gonna be the major problem, the major events throughout the story? How is it gonna end? So the conclusion. Also, when it comes to a fictional book, find out at least one main theme that will occur throughout your book. So a theme, wait. So what's gonna be the main message of your book, of the story? So like an example can be how in the story people aren't communicating as well, but then at one point after struggle and trial they realize they need to communicate and they get the job done way more efficiently. So the theme would be communication helps people to understand each other as well as working more efficiently together. So yeah. And then find out your setting and your scene. So if it's a fictional story, what is like the world? Is it like how the world is today? Is it in the past? Is it in the future? Is it tropical? Is it cold? Is it mild? And yeah, so find out the time, the climate, the culture, and like if it's like who's in charge of everybody. Is there a leader? Is there not? This is all things to like think of that could help you write your story. As well as you could just start writing whenever you have an idea pop into your mind. So just write it down, even if it doesn't make sense right now, that's okay. It doesn't have to. And then another way is to have a character list. So just typing out all the characters, you could start off by like just numbering them, like female 1, main character 1, male 1, or side character 1, or antagonist 1, protagonist 1. Oh, protagonist is like your hero and antagonist is your villain. Just to clarify for those who do not know, and it's okay because now you know. And when it comes to this character list, it doesn't have to be something like grand or anything. It's just something for you to understand and to organize all your characters in your story so you do not get them confused, because that may happen when you're writing and that's totally fine. So what could be on this character list is if the character is a side or main character, if they're protagonist or antagonist, as well as I was going to say role, but I already described some of the roles, but also have like some characteristics of the character. So you can have a character development, and these characteristics, you do not have to list this in your story, but they can help you as a writer to be like, oh, the person could say this, but that's not their personality. So instead, I'll write this to make it seem like the character is like a real person. And it will be easier for the audience to connect to your story when you do know how the character would like talk or act, or even, what's another one? Just the character's personality. What do they like? What do they dislike? When is their birthday? Like a general timeline, a general, like a month or the season, or how do they act? towards a certain topic? Are they sensitive to a topic because of what happened to their past, but nobody knows about it because they just keep it to themselves? And later on, through signs of the character being like pushing the subject away when it's matching up, and other characters will finally learn why that character is like so closed off to the subject or doesn't want to talk about it. um or maybe the character will never reveal why, and you'll just leave the audience on a cliffhanger. So yeah. Also, another thing to think about when you're writing is, do you want to have cliffhangers? Do you want to have the story end or a chapter end where it leaves the audience wondering and not giving them all the information until the next chapter, or just never mention it in the book and just have the audience wondering what happened, or like why that happened, or just why? Because it is good to leave the audience wondering and having them think for themselves of what possibly could happen, because then you're making your audience think and not just like reading the story, you know? You're getting your audience more engaged into the story being told. So yeah. So on the character list, you want your character development. How are these characters, especially the main character, how are they going to change from the beginning to the end? Like, what is the audience going to know at the beginning of the story, but then find out more or get to know the character towards the end? Where's that change going to be? And is it going to be sprinkled throughout the book? Is it going to happen all at the beginning or all at the middle or end? Or is it just going to be a mystery, but at the same time, you want to give your audience some sort of intel on the characters, especially the main characters? For the side characters, depending on how your story is, you don't have to develop them that much, but you should at least be clear on what their roles are in the story. So when do these side characters come in, and why would they come in at this time? You know? And you want to, when it comes to your main characters, another thing you could add to the character list is that you could have a background, not a background on your characters. So basically, why the characters are who they are, and how did they get to this point, and does that cause them to act a certain way, and did that change their personality? So yeah. And finally, you want to brainstorm, what is the story goal? What is the goal that God gave you to writing this book? Did he give you to share it with others to help them? Or, the story goal. So why is the story occurring? Like, what's the main goal? An example could be is that the main character or a few main characters have this task that they have to complete a quest. But for some reason, they aren't able to complete it, or they aren't even able to start it until they find out this main thing, the key thing that they needed to be able to work with each other efficiently. And that main thing could be communication. And so the main goal could be trying to complete this task. But the theme could be, you can't complete anything with each other without having communication, because otherwise it's just a jumbled mess. So yeah. So that's what I have for y'all today. Thank you for joining, and be sure to check out my other videos. Feel free to leave a thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and comment what others tactics that you have in creating a fictional story, or other reasons why you created a book, a story, and how has God helped you with your writing process. And be sure to subscribe, because there could be I do lives randomly throughout the week, month, or whenever I want. So be sure to hit the notification bell to be notified when I do go live, as well as Mondays we talk about God, and Saturdays we just recently basically been talking about my life in a way, but like through a story setting. So yeah, thank you for joining me today. It was great. So yeah, bye y'all.